Okay, this is a little bit of an odd video that might take a little bit of explaining as to what I'm about to do here. I'm going to talk about Kenny Pickett and the Steelers offense when he was out there. I was going to wait till after the game ended, but due to the weather delays, I figured, well, let's just put it out now. But, Kenny Pickett had a really rough year, looked really good last week in his first year away from Matt Canada. I kind of want to talk about what happened here, especially if this is all we get from Kenny Pickett. I don't know how bad the injury is. I really want to talk about what we've learned so far and what we can maybe take away from that. So, yeah, let's just get into it. Let's start off with this play. This was a good play. This is something you like to see. That it was kind of one of those things where the second I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, why don't the Steelers do this? Of just like running a play action against zone coverage. And, it's actually even an added wrinkle where instead of just having Pickens go over the middle, which even that, I feel like they should just do more frequently. But instead, they're going to have him fake as though he's going over the middle and then go back towards the bottom of the screen. As you see, Pickett is going to run to play action. He is going to eventually fire the ball to Pickens, who gets open on this play. Like, wow, separation, right? That's not something you see a lot with the Steelers. Usually it's a lot of just, hey, wide receiver, go try to win on the outside. No, let's scheme stuff up a little bit. Pickens is a good receiver. Let's, make it easier on him. Well, that's what they did on this play, in my opinion. Really good stuff by the play call here. As you see, well-thrown football, they're able to get the ball to Pickens. So this is the kind of thing that definitely was, getting you excited. And like, okay, here we go. This is the, the hope here for the Steelers. These are kind of things that, you wanted to see more of, and you weren't seeing with Matt Canada. So while week one, I was kind of, week one without Matt Canada, I was kind of like, I don't know how much of the offense looking better is because he is gone. But here, this is a definitive, like, okay, yeah, this is a play that they weren't running a lot with Canada that they're running, and it worked. Of course, going over here, there still were some plays of like beating themselves, something like this, which is a 3rd down and 2 situation, and watch what happens. It's going to be a low snap, and, Pickett's eventually able to corral it, but then just basically falls down. So on a 3rd and 2, you had an opportunity to potentially get a 1st down on that play, and you blew it by a bad snap, and Pickett, maybe even still could have made it work had he been able to quickly pick it up. I'm not blaming him. That's a tough situation, but it's an example of like, hey, it's hard enough to win games in the NFL. Don't make it harder on yourself. Well, they kind of made it harder on themselves here. And also going over here, talking about the play calling itself, it wasn't exactly a dream scenario either, where it's, 3rd down and 4 right here. What's going to happen is this is, looks like a heavy blitz here by the Cardinals. We don't know if it is, right? We're not in, if you're Kenny Pickett, you don't know exactly what the concept is, but it looks like they're going to be blitzing. I want you to take a look at that player right there. That's Dennis Gardeck, the edge rusher, who was kind of a fun story to start the season. He's going to make a good play here, good recognition here, as, he knows what concept they're in, right? I mean, he knows they're showing a heavy blitz here, so he knows, the Steelers are checking to another play. He knows what they're probably checking to. Look at, as you see, he is going to communicate something to the defense. I'm not sure exactly what, but he's communicating something to the defense. But what the Steelers are doing is running a wide receiver screen, and he knows that something like that is probably happening. He's aware of, like, yeah, that's a great way to beat the coverage we're in. You just check to something, so good chance this is what you're doing. As you see, Pickett's going to take the snap, quickly fires it, and you see that Gardeck is able to get over. And, I mean, at this point, you put your receiver in a tough situation. So it's one of those things where, on paper, you did everything right, but, like, a good player made a good play and realized what you were doing. So you can definitely take that in 2 different directions. You can, on one hand, say, yeah, it's a good play. It is what it is. At the same time, though, it is one of those things where if defenders are realizing what play you're going to and what check you're going to, it might be a good idea to get more different checks and to try and fool them a little bit better, and that does come down to coaching. So, again, you can also look at this as like, hey, it doesn't necessarily mean that Matt Canada isn't the problem, but maybe, you still are needing to look for a new solution. That could also be something on the table. Although going over here, I have to be honest, sometimes, like, it's one of those things where, I keep talking about scheme guys open, make things happen that way. Sometimes I want to see them just do this more, where it's, George Pickens one-on-one on the outside. I kind of feel like it's one of those situations where, like, listen, we know the talent of the Steelers offense, right? There's some issues, there's some, some bad spots, no denying that. sometimes just throw it up to Pickens. As you see, Pickett is going to quickly look over to Pickens. He fires, and Pickens picks up, 10 yards and a first down on that play. Okay, it's nothing fancy. You don't always have to be fancy. The goal is to move the ball down the field. These are the kind of things you hope to see if you're a Steelers fan. Is like, hey, we still do have some guys. I know it's not this great scenario, but they're also not the Patriots, right? Like, there is some talent here, and Pickens is kind of that main talent. So, well, yes, making things easier on him is a good strategy. Sometimes just he makes it easier on everyone else. Just throw it up to him. That's simple stuff can still work. Also, heading over to a play like this is a good play. It's a 3rd down and 3 right here. And the way this concept is going to work is Pickett is going to take the snap, and you see that he looks towards his left. This is, a zone coverage play that the Cardinals are in. And honestly, he could throw it to Pickens here. I'm not exactly sure why he doesn't, but I have a theory. And my theory is I don't think he was ever trying to throw it to Pickens. I think he saw the coverage and wanted to try and, use his eyes to not allow anyone to realize exactly what he's doing. These little things are very important because then he's able to flip the ball to Pat Freiermuth, who does great work in open space. Pat Freiermuth, I mean, he was just born to be a Steeler, right? Like, that's just like he fits Pittsburgh totally. But, this is a good play by Pickett, and it's also good, like, hey, having multiple options on a play is kind of cool and kind of good, and that's something that you want to see happen more frequently, and that over-the-middle stuff is something that I know Steelers fans were really complaining about with Canada. Seeing it a little bit more here, but it's more just, in my opinion, a good play by Pickett to find a way to get the ball down the field. So, as a whole, I mean, listen, it's not a great situation here for the Steelers. They're still trying to make the playoffs, and they still could very well be a playoff team. Again, I don't know as of recording this video how the second half of, or really, last 22 minutes or so of the game ends. So who knows with that one. They still could be a playoff team, though. However, if this is all we see from Kenny Pickett, I mean, this is a bit disappointing, especially when you thought that there could be some optimism after last week. Not a lot here, a little bit of flashes, but really kind of it just feels like I haven't seen a ton in this game. There were some issues, and I wanted to see more. I want to see a bigger sample size, and with this small sample size, I need to see more from Pickett without Canada before I can really make a strong opinion one way or the other. That's kind of how I view all of this. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on all of that. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.